give up on your legal status. Many people fail to respond to RFE or file an application before the deadline. This is why we offer a strategy session for 15 minutes at no cost to you. Not everyone qualifies. First, you need to speak with our CARES team. We receive many requests, so we recommend you answer a few questions on our website, greencardguys.com. Our mission is to help people live and work in America legally. Go ahead and subscribe below and follow and share. Talk to you soon. What's going on, y'all? A little bit late start today, but I figured I need to get a little bit sustenance, get some food in my system because I went live for 2.5 hours on Monday. I had to give myself a break yesterday. Today is Wednesday, July 26th. Today's topic is what I like to do every Wednesday is red flags to avoid regards to job sponsorship. So this could be helpful for folks in an HR, maybe you're an entrepreneur, you have your own company, or even the larger companies. The thing is, and also, of course, for applicants, employees. So this is where for folks as people in the United States and even people who are outside the United States. Now, here's the deal. You're welcome to post your question down below in the comment section, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram. I will try my best to help you out. Okay, so and answer your question. So the first thing that you'll need to know, okay, is that if you are in the United States, and this is for the foreign national, the immigrant beneficiary, if you are currently in the United States, the key thing is that people always want to know, can I get status? Can I get residency while in the United States, specifically through a job sponsorship? Now, the first thing that we ask is, well, do you currently have non-immigrant status? Do you have any kind of status? Is it at least DACA? Is it TPS? Now, if you have DACA or TPS and you're able to obtain approval of advanced parole and you traveled outside the U.S. and come back in, then it's possible. But that's only one legal part of it. The key thing is that the key difference between maybe like a marriage to a U.S. citizen is that for that, the re-entry with the advanced parole is sufficient when you're married to a U.S. citizen. But when it comes to family preference category, for example, sponsored by a parent or sponsored by a company, you need to maintain status, non-immigrant status, if you want to get residency in the United States. So this is a problem when I eat right before I'm burping a little. Otherwise, the default is you have to get the residency, the visa, when you're outside, the immigrant visa, when you're outside the United States during a visa interview. Okay, so that's a key difference. Many people want, of course, a residency while in the U.S., but for some folks, it's a bit of a struggle. Now, let's say you don't have the DACA or TPS, which most likely wouldn't help you ultimately when it's job sponsorship, because you need to show you that you maintain status. And having DACA and TPS by itself is not technically legal status. I mean, if you want to call it something, because through those two avenues, you're able to get a temporary work visa. It's just difficult to even call it any kind of legal status. I mean, in my mind, I consider it like a quasi status, but it's not lawful status with regard to the U.S. immigration laws. Okay. Of course, please continue pushing your questions in the comment section. Share your experience if you like, and I'll get to it soon. But I do want to answer the topic of the day. So now let's say you still want a company to sponsor you. You're like, I still want to do it, and I still want to get residency through my company. What do I do? You need to be eligible for a waiver. We call it the Family Unity Waiver. Unfortunately, there is no waiver through employment reasons. Like, you can't just show that you work for a company and that's a waiver. So unfortunately, companies are not considered qualifying relative. That would be great. I mean, I think a lot of people could get status. Maybe I need to tell a politician about this. But I think that'd be a great thing, right? That could definitely boost the economy. I know a lot of tech companies and companies like what was it? X, Twitter is they did the layoffs, and other companies unfortunately which, by the way, what do y'all think about the new name? I think it's ridiculous. It just seems silly when they're still using twitter.com, right? I think it's just, obviously, I'm talking about it, so he's wanting to get attention about it. But yeah, so, that's the thing. You have to have a qualifying relative for family unity waiver. So who's considered a qualifying relative? It's a spouse or a parent who is a U.S. citizen or a resident. So of course, if someone says, "Well, I'm married," yeah, why would I? That doesn't make sense. Like, if I'm going to have a spouse who's a U.S. citizen, or even as a resident, wouldn't I just go through the process through your spouse? Yeah, you would. Through a parent, it would take longer. That would be family preference. But so more likely in this scenario, if you have a parent who has status, then you could go through the job sponsorship, because being sponsored by a parent, that's a family preference category, so that would take a long time. All right. So hopefully that gives you an idea. Let's see here. I don't know if some of y'all try to accidentally click on this, but trying to join the live with me, I appreciate it if you're trying to do it, but I don't know how all that works. Maybe I'll learn that in the future. Anyways, okay, folks. But even if you have a company that's willing to sponsor you, two more things I'd like to share with you is that for the job title, the occupation that you're being sponsored for, I really recommend it's not the one that you're actually working in right now, because ultimately, I'll just put it out there. Maybe I'm just going to use like a dental assistant or something. Dental assistant, let's say industry, in your region, for example, or in your town, in your city. Typically, maybe like the job requirements is that you need 1 year experience. Of course, that's silly. But let's just say it's 1 year experience. I say silly because when you graduate, you technically don't have any experience unless it's through clinical experience. But anyways, let's say it's 1 year, okay, for experience. You can't have more than 50% of that experience through the same company, through the same position. So it either has to be another company sponsoring you, or basically a different position that you can still meet the qualifications. So hopefully that helps, because a lot of people call us, say, "Well, this is my position right now, and I want to be sponsored for the same position." So we do our best to explain that to to companies, HR, and eventually they'll come around and understand. But it does take them some time, because they're like, "Well, I already did the job posting, blah 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 blah. This person already works in this position, so why do I have to, quote unquote, promote them?" I suppose it's just the way the regulations work. So want to prevent a problem in the future. That's what we're trying to help you do. Solve immigration problems, but aside from that, maybe prevent them from happening in the first place. Okay. Let's see what else. So the third thing, this is more specific to students. Like if you're a student right now, whether you're, especially for those folks who are in the United States right now, and you have maybe a bit of higher expectation to get a job in the U.S., which is good. You pay a lot of money for international student tuition. So I get it. You want a job, but it is difficult in the U.S. to get sponsorship. Even if a company says, "Look, I'm going to sponsor you for H-1B," but the thing you need to know, some of y'all graduate in, let's say, like December or earlier. H-1B, the default for company or people who are subject to the cap, okay, that is every March for the registration only. They don't call it lottery anymore, but technically it's still a lottery because it's quote unquote randomly selected. So it has nothing to do. Doesn't mean you have to get straight A's or anything. You could get straight B's, straight C's, but you still got that degree. You got that paper, and you got a company that's willing to sponsor you. So that's great, right? But that's only step one. So understanding the timing, because you graduate I don't want to say too early, but if you graduated earlier than that registration time period, that you want to make sure you apply for OPT at the right time, okay? Because there's a deadline of 30 days after you graduate for the OPT. So you definitely want to apply within that time frame, ASAP. And then the other thing is that when you finally come down for registration period, but even, okay, let's say this scenario, even if you have you're about to graduate in May, but the registration is in March, right? So you actually don't have to have the degree in your hand, or you don't have to have actually graduated in March of the year that you're about to, or semester that you're about to graduate. I know it's kind of strange. So you really want to think about going through your networks, going through interviews way before March. Okay, you want to go think way in advance. Okay, several steps ahead, because if you wait till May, the H-1B registration period already ended. It ends at the end of March. I'm sorry, not end of March, even earlier. Usually registration period for H-1B is only like 2 weeks. It's pretty ridiculous. I mean, it's still better technically than the way it was several years ago, where it was a free for all to file all applications, the entire application, in the first week of April. But it's still not perfect. But I believe it's still better than it was before. So, anyways, okay. So those are the tips for employee base if you want to be sponsored by a company. So now I'm going to hop off. For those folks who have been on LinkedIn or any other social media platform, our number is right above. Okay, give us a call if you have questions, or you can go to that website, freevisaquiz.com, and answer a couple questions there, and our cares team member will call you within 24 hours of a business day. Okay, so those folks on LinkedIn, I'm going to hop off from there. And for others, I will continue. All right, there we go. All right, so for Tanya, I'm going to answer some questions now. So, sorry, I see one pinned on TikTok. Eddie, can I talk about remove conditions? Currently have conditional green card. Sure, absolutely. So, conditional status is valid for 2 years. Assuming you got this marriage and not through the EB-5, then you can file the 751 application within the 90-day period of the 2-year mark. So let's say your 2-year expiration date is like September 1st. So you can file now. But if you want to file earlier than the 90 days, you can't do that. We actually did that once on accident. We filed it like maybe 1 or 2 days before the 90-day period, and it got rejected. Fortunately, they don't accept your payment when they reject it. So it was a little bit annoying, but because they don't want to hold the application, the package, they're a little strict on that. I think just part of their workflow, essentially. Marion, is a second round of H-1B lottery going to happen this year? It doesn't appear that way. From what I saw, the number statistics, it appeared they selected a lot more people during the first round this year in late March. So thereby doing that, we infer that they're not going to go a second round. Okay. I wish they would, but you never know. I think a couple years ago, the second round was around this time. But if that happens, we'll definitely let folks know. All right. Can a wife and mother of a U.S. citizen who is not in America legally apply for residency without leaving? The wife first, and also, wife and mother of a U.S. citizen, assuming the U.S. citizen sponsor is over 21 years old, then both can apply for residency. Well, when you say in the U.S. illegally, I'm also inferring that those persons entered without a visa. So it wouldn't be in the U.S. unless you qualify for an exception. Otherwise, the default is abroad at the consulate embassy. You need to apply for a waiver. And unfortunately, for the mother of the U.S. citizen, adult son or daughter is not a qualifying relative for the family unity waiver. I know, it's ridiculous. So they should allow that. KK, your spouse got citizenship after you got the GC. When can I apply for citizenship, or 3 to 5 years? Oh, got citizenship after? It should be 3 years, because you got status in general through marriage. I'm not sure if there's a quirky rule about that, depending on timing, but it should be still 3 years. So check that out on the USCIS page if you need to, or call us. Keith, I didn't forget about you, Tanya. Keith, if my girlfriend came to the U.S. to visit on a travel visa and you get married, is there a way She can stay. Yes, it is possible. Thanks, Abby, for the rose. Appreciate it. If you have a question, Abby, then we'll get to yours sooner than later. Um, yeah, your girlfriend can. It's just that we highly recommend waiting 90 days after entry. Okay, and if anything, because of presumption of fraud, so we definitely recommend waiting 90 days after entry. Isha, 90 days and then get married. Okay, but that doesn't mean you have to get married right at 90 days or anything like that. But that that time period builds up, allows you to build up the evidence anyway. Isha, you're trying to sponsor your dad. You're in the military. Will it help the case better? Absolutely, actually. Not for everyone. Mhm. Assuming, Isha, you're a U.S. citizen, you can sponsor your dad in general. But if your dad entered America without inspection, meaning without a visa, then this is called military parole in place. It's an extra step, and it's a great step. You do have to apply for the 131 advanced parole form. It can be, you can file that before you file a petition I-130, or it can be afterwards. It's not necessarily one is better than other. Okay, I'm going to answer Tanya's question on YouTube. Man, yo, I'm getting a lot more questions on TikTok. The algorithm is much better. Tanya on YouTube, thanks for staying on. Is a 30-year age difference going to be hard? Yes, in general, to be honest. You've been married for 30 years. You visited 5 times. 6 by the time you get to the interview date. Yeah. He lives in Nigeria. You're in the U.S. You don't have any property or accounts together, but you own your own home. And he built y'all a home also. So I think you're sharing that. Well, other than the age difference, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to, even though it's not expected that persons outside the U.S. have more evidence of marriage together in that sense, but it certainly will be difficult. There will be questions that are going to be more scrutinized for your spouse. Okay, Tanya. But yeah, you can, if you need help with that. I mean, that's when we would need to represent y'all. Okay, but because I don't know if there's YouTube videos about that. But essentially, but 3 years of marriage. That's pretty good, but that's probably because, of course, pandemic when y'all been delayed. But it is possible. We've had significant age gaps for other clients, but you have to be prepared for it. You know, okay, since this case is your spouse is abroad, your spouse has to definitely be ready. Okay, yeah, you got to be ready for a little bit more enhanced interview. And I don't mean to say enhanced like interrogation, but yeah, they're going to ask more specific questions. Okay, Shelby, thanks for your patience. You're dealing with K1 visa. Why does it take so freaking long? Unfortunately, K1 visas before the pandemic, or fortunately before at least, we've had K1 visa petition, the very first step, approved in like average 3 to 5 months. But these days, aside from the petition, even though that is sometimes now taking like 5 to 12 months just for the K1 visa petition, it's now taking longer for the actual visa interview. Okay, so people who are married to a U.S. citizen are have been prioritized and continue to be prioritized over K1 in general. Okay, but hopefully you could be qualified for a NVC expedite request. They don't have specific guidelines like at USCIS, which could be okay because if they seem to be a little bit more broad in that context. So, but someone spoke with me earlier today, and I think they have really good medical reasons, substantial medical reason to get the expedite request, but her spouse's country of nationality, for that case, one of the African countries, they denied it. So, and she actually has contacts too that you would think that could get through to get that expedite request, but that didn't work out, unfortunately for her. So now we had to file a mandamus lawsuit because I think it's been 1 year after DQ. DQ means documentary qualified, by the way. Hey, what's going on, Carlos? I just switched over to IG. You're in immigration court waiting for your master. I do remember something about that. But you're in the process of buying a house. What happened if you lose in immigration court? Can you still own the house and sell it? Fortunately, selling your home, whatnot, there's no restriction. I mean, even if you were to decide to leave the United States and you have assets in America, what I recommend doing is, if, like, for example, if you end up accepting something called a voluntary departure, the max they can give you timing wise is 120 days in America. Now, if in your mind you're thinking, nah, I'm not going to leave, even if the government tells me to, you wouldn't be the only one. There's a lot of folks that overstayed the order or violated the voluntary departure. Um, but when you violate the voluntary departure, and for some reason you get pulled back into court in the future, you're not going to get voluntary departure again. So if you wanted to take care of your belongings, your family, your business, your employer, do certain things logistically before you get removed, it's really better. It's really better that you actually consider order removal and not voluntary departure. Now, fortunately, order removal doesn't mean that you have to leave like tomorrow, but the key difference is that if you're detained or not. So Carlos and anyone else who gets in a situation, fortunately for Carlos, looks like you're still waiting for your master date. But if you have an individual hearing coming up, meaning a trial, a final trial, then you do want to get things in place. Okay, I'm not saying you have to do it like immediately, but just having the mindset to be ready for the worst case scenario. And so one thing is a power of attorney. So Carlos, I think you're up north, so every state is different, but generally it's the same concept. Power attorney has very broad powers. I recommend, at least in Texas, if you don't want a power to be authorized, there's default like a list. You just cross it out, okay, before you sign it. And then when you do sign it, for if your situation is only about selling property, then you just leave that one power. And if you want to make it even more specific, you say only authorized to sell and sign off on the warranty deed, for example, or sales contract for this specific house. So, because some people just sign a power of attorney just because in a hurry, but then like that person that you trusted could try to open a bank account, withdraw money. Yeah, so you don't want to you don't necessarily always want to provide broad powers, even if it's family members. Okay. Rhonda, thanks for your patience. Can you still apply for VAWA if you're divorced? Yes, but it has to be within a 2-year period of your divorce. So if you're lawyers in general call it like statute of limitations, basically a deadline when you can file a lawsuit for certain situations. So it's a 2-year period. Okay. Actually, someone called us the other day. I had a consultation with them, and turned out his VAWA was denied because he filed for VAWA, the I-360 form, more than 2 years after the divorce. So hopefully it helps. So yeah, definitely file that sooner than later. Abby, I think you're the one that gave me the rose. I appreciate it. Do you know? I'm hiccuping now or burping because I ate too fast right before the live show. Abby, you said, "Do I know how long it was taking to parole in place the spouse?" Boy, it depends on the field office, because parole in place application is the field office uses the 131 form, and that you have to mail that directly to the field office, and that is not on the processing time schedule. Well, let me see real quick. Processing times in general, there is the 131 form, but let me see if they break it down to the field office. They might not. Let's see. Yeah, they don't break it down to the field office. So unfortunately, it's up to them. Thanks, Abby, for the rose again. But essentially, we just got one back from the Dallas field office. We just got it earlier this week or last week, and it was about I think that took about a year. Unfortunately, they just got a huge backlog. So depending on your situation, like if you have a court case, removal proceedings, we technically call it. If it's active case or not, or maybe it's active but there's no scheduled court hearing, we would still try to. Our recommended strategy right now is to get that court case dismissed first. Okay. Carlos on Instagram, if you're still on, we need to talk again. Maybe it might be, I don't know if we talked about it, one of the other options like NIW or not, but you might not be eligible for that either. So yeah, earlier today I spoke with an individual who might be eligible for national interest waiver. So we'll cover that in more depth, maybe in a couple weeks. I'm going to be out, no live show next week, maybe on TikTok because it's easier to go live. Okay, Isa 2, sorry if I mispronounced anyone's name. Hi, if resident card is denied, application denied, can you reapply for travel documents to travel? Well, maybe if you can reapply for that 131 if you have DACA or TPS. Now, DACA is more restrictive on, I mean, generally they're actually, or even if you're a asylee, it's still restrictive on reasons why advanced parole will be approved. So those are only 3 situations I can think of that you could apply for advanced parole. Otherwise, you have to refile the 485, but maybe that's not possible if you get separated. Hanoun, is it 3 years from U.S. or 3 years from in marriage to apply for citizenship? It's actually the third option scenario is 3 years of resident status. Okay. Now you're making me think if I'm wrong because let me see. Let me just double check real quick. Yeah, it should be 3 years from resident status. Let's see. And you can file within 3 months of that period, whatever it is. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an idea. Let's see. No, let me pull it up on YouTube and Facebook at least. Hopefully it shows here. Sorry, TikTokers and IG. I'm not able to share my screen on there, but you can see here on greencardguys.tv if you want to hop on there. It can show. Let's see here. Demonstrate continuous present. Oh yeah, it's more so about demonstrate continuous permanent residence in the United States for at least 5 years. So that's if default, right? If it's not through marriage, it says if it's marriage to U.S. citizen specifically, then it's 3 years permanent residence. So what they mean by permanent residence is what I'm trying to say. It may seem like living in the U.S., but it's more about when the date issued on your resident card. So I'll track 3 or 5 years from that time period. Okay. By the way, folks, we do have received questions like almost every other day about people who have crimes, whether it's considered a conviction or plea bargain, and you want to apply for citizenship. I really recommend you wait that time period, whether it's a 3 or 5 year time period, for good moral character period after the probation is completed. That's what we highly recommend, okay? Unless you have some kind of evidence of rehabilitation to some extent, okay? Of course, there's no document that says, okay, you're officially rehabbed. So, but anyways, hopefully that helps. Okay, Martina, will the time that you've been outside the U.S. count towards waiting period for a waiver? Unfortunately, that has nothing to do about the waiting period, the processing time of the waiver. The processing time of the waiver depends on after you file the actual waiver, if that's what you mean. Maybe you mean about the, it sounds like maybe you're outside the U.S. right now because of a removal order or deportation order. But yeah, that's just generally separate considerations. The only thing is that if you've been outside the U.S. for more than 10 years already and you had a removal order, then you don't have to apply for the I-212. Sorry, I missed the question. Foundation, Joel, you got your green card through asylum. So how long you had to wait for N400? I believe that's 5 years also. I don't think they have an exception on that. I could be wrong, but that's a great question. Sorry, I'm burping. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I mean that's why I was just sharing Foundation Joel on my screen on for YouTube and Facebookers. But I don't see one specific for asylee status for. Well, that really is because ultimately for asylee, the Foundation Joel is that you don't skip residency. If you got asylum, oh, you got the green card through asylum already. Okay, asylee status, green card, and then citizenship. But yeah, I didn't see anything specific about those who obtain residency through asylee. Okay, next question. Um, okay, we're good on Instagram. Anyone else on YouTube? Okay, you guys are shy on YouTube and Facebook. Dina Boomer. If you sue, how long does it take for approval? So it depends on what kind of case you have. If generally we get a faster response in that sense, if it's an application such as a 485 with USAS. Now, if you're suing because, or maybe it's N400, sometimes we get a response in like 1 to 2 months. On average, can't guarantee for you, but if it's a case like consular processing and you're outside the US or your loved one is outside the US, that generally takes more time just because of the significant backlog outside of US. Okay, Golden Lady for sure. Can you? I wonder what that means, Golden Lady. Can you apply for a green card as an RN even when even when you're out of status? So just in general, whether you're RN or not or different occupation for residency and you're in the US, I'm assuming I'm inferring that, then you still have to maintain your status. So if you still want residency, then you still have to go outside the US eventually for the interview. Okay, but I would only do that if you're eligible for family unity waiver. Okay, Ricardo on YouTube. If someone gets their GC via employment, then gets married to a U.S. citizen after, when should a person file for citizenship? 3 or 5 years. So it's based on who sponsors you. So if your scenario is you're sponsored by employment, so it's a 5-year rule. I really don't understand why they do that. I don't know the congressional intent on that. It's kind of interesting, actually, which is kind of strange because then they're encouraging people to get married to U.S. citizen as opposed to a company. Okay, FJAF. Oh shoot, I just missed yours. Sorry, Maria. If you can help post his later after this one. A. Good afternoon. Your petition has been waived. I think you mean your interview. Will you receive your green card for marriage? Well, I think you're trying to say more than that. The interview itself is typically with a 45 application, so hopefully you file that, assuming you or your spouse is in the United States and eligible for it. Michael Hogan, what is the cost of adjustment of status? If you're talking about government fee, it generally is $12.25, which includes biometrics. That's for the 485 application. Don't ask me how I remember all this information. I guess I just have to know it on a day-to-day basis. What does unsolicited evidence mean? I don't, Nietzsche. I don't. Is this related to like a crime? I don't know if I can answer that because I need more. I need a more thorough question to understand what you mean. Let's see. Zaina and Alicia, hello. What would I recommend filing N336 if they made errors? Who made error? Oh, USCIS made errors and denied N400. So you're requesting a rehearing. Yeah, we've had to do that several times, which I think it depends on the error. But yeah, in general, I would file the N336. That is basically the option before a 290B. But usually we wouldn't even file 290B anyway. It would just be refiling. So for now, N336. But whatever they asked for, and if you were not able to, just in case, you said they made errors, but just in case they asked you for something you weren't able to give it in time, but maybe they gave it to them later, make sure you include it in this next filing. But the good thing about N336 is that it goes to another officer for a review. So that's a good thing. Because maybe the original officer just obviously made an incorrect assessment. But you do want to include a cover letter, which is what we do for every case, to explain to USCIS, whoever's going to review it, the situation, why you're eligible. All right. Felicia, by the way, folks, this is a good time to mention to y'all, my marketing team always asks me and reminds me, if you enjoy our content, please on TikTok, tap the screen as many times as possible until your arm is tired. On Instagram, hit the hearts, smash the hearts and the likes, thumbs up on Facebook and YouTube. And please share with your enemies, your friends, your neighbors, our channels if you know they have an immigration question. Honestly, even if it's just they're looking for a lawyer, we're always happy to refer to other lawyers, even if it's not, even if it is immigration or not. Because, for example, we don't accept asylum cases anymore. We refer that out to our network of asylum lawyers, which one always comes to mind first, and that's Brian Manning. He used to work for the government. No guarantees on outcomes for our referrals, of course. We don't control their case, and they don't control the government, and we don't either. Okay, Felicia, you applied for green card renewal. No updates yet. It's been 2 years. Can't get anyone to respond. This is interesting, Felicia. A lot more people the past several weeks have been telling us that sometimes usually been at least 2 years wait time. Now, when I look at the visa, let me see here, processing times, USCIS processing times, I-90. Can you tell me where your case is located, Felicia? I'm just going to assume that, okay, this Potomac Service Center looks like only. So I'm showing on YouTube and Facebook, it's taking 20 months. So not to say that you have to wait whatever time it shows on the processing time schedule, because you don't, because waiver cases show 44 months as of last week. It's been changing almost every other week. But this one right now for I-90 application for 10-year renewal, it's showing 20.5 months at the Potomac Service Center, which is the only place that's processing these. So that's strange. Potomac Service Center tends to be a little bit faster in general, but 20 months, come on, that's ridiculous. But yeah, Felicia, contact us. So, folks, we do offer a strategy session consultation for 15 minutes at no cost to you. So if you're interested, give us a call, 720-740-4247. I don't know why on TikTok I'm not allowed to share the number, like, typing it in. So the number again is 720-740-4247. Please excuse us. We do have a couple other numbers, so we might call you back from another number. So hopefully that helps. Or you can go to our website, greencardguys.com, and answer just a couple questions on our contact page. And it actually allows you to self-schedule an appointment after you click submit on our form. We really make it easy for y'all, but please expect that our CARES team specialists will call you within 24 hours of a visit day. They really try their best. If we're a little bit slower, please exercise a little bit more patience. We're trying our best. Some people call us like, what the hell is taking so long? So I don't know what the pandemic has done to us humans, but we have a little less patience these days. So anyways, but yeah, those are the ways to contact us. Okay. Diana, hello. After the approval of I-130, how long does it take for husband to come from Ankara to the U.S.? Okay, Turkey. Yeah, there's a lot of steps involved before that. Before your husband could come, you have to be documentarily qualified through the National Visa Center, and then after that, have to wait for the actual visa interview to be scheduled. And unfortunately, people from countries around that area, the Middle East, the consulates and embassies tend to be slower. They're probably going to ask your husband to fill out this form DS-5535 even after the interview. So it's very, very frustrating. Emily, to you on YouTube, what is our office saying processing for I-140? Yeah, for those folks that don't want to do premium processing, and typically it's not even necessary. I would only do that if it's EB1, since that's showing current right now. But yeah, I see your question here. I know it varies from a couple months to a year for regular processing. Yeah, it's I mean, average 6 to 8 months without premium processing, which which may work out because most people are the Visa bulletin's not current for them anyway. So hopefully that helps, Emily. Okay, back to TikTok. PIP for parents of active military. Can you still get one approved if they have gotten deported? It is possible, especially with the Biden administration. Like, who knows what it's going to change? Next year, even if we have another Democrat president and it's not Joe Biden, they could change the enforcement policies. So right now, as of now, they haven't changed it, but the original memo stated that they've considered PD for people who have removal order, okay, from the past. So it could get reopened. All right. So hopefully that can help. Okay, folks. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go live for 2 hours and a half like a couple days ago. So I can only stay on for about 5 more minutes. So after that, please, if I didn't answer your question, or even if I did, but you have more questions, welcome to contact us. The number is 720-740-4247. Okay. Let's see. Celine Gomez. 601A case was fortunate. Office transfer notice. Yeah, huh? How long are the approvals taking since then? You filed. I don't know why my fat fingers won't let me click on it. Filed in March 2021. Okay, so yeah, a lot more applicants have been receiving transfer notices a couple months ago, starting off, but they still haven't received any decision. So unfortunately, there is no. It's hard to provide like a data point. I always love to provide like our case experience in that sense, but we've had some clients get that notice a couple months ago and more recently, like within the last couple of weeks. Nikki C31, is it a bad thing to get an interview for VAWA instead of them just sending the green card? It's not always bad. Like same thing with the marriage cases. It's not always bad. I mean, default, that's just the way they usually did it, right? But in general, I just would be ready. Obviously, prep for the interview. I don't know if you have a lawyer or not, but if there's any time to get a lawyer, it would be now because you probably waited a couple of years to get to this point for the residency part. So you need to hire a lawyer that can express their experience. Like, of course, I know a main question is like, well, can I what's your experience in this? I mean, to some extent we can explain, of course, our success stories, but it's hard to give a laundry list, right? So what I would recommend that is that you check the Google reviews at the minimum. Some lawyers have a Avvo page, avvo.com. I used to get a lot of reviews there until I realized Google is really the best place to get reviews. So we're very fortunate that we have, I think, over 300 Google reviews and Avvo together at least. So okay. La Maria P, do I know how long it's taking to process approved military marriage-based green card? So when you say military, I'm assuming you maybe apply for military parole in place. If your spouse entered without a visa, then that's the benefit of that. Then in general, they don't make it necessarily faster just because a spouse is in the military. That would be great, but not necessarily. Okay. Let's see. Okay, answer the questions on. Let's see another. Oh my goodness, you guys have a lot of questions. I appreciate it. I'm so sorry. I won't be able to get to all of y'all. I might be only get to like 2 more questions or so. So please, you're welcome to send a message through messages on TikTok or whatever, Instagram. But Instagram is difficult. I don't know. Meta needs to get their act together. And Mark Zuckerberg. So if you're listening, Mark, and your team, I don't know what you're doing, but don't focus on threads or whatever. Like get together. Because on TikTok, if you send me a message or your question as a message, It's just easier for me to record it on TikTok, and just send you the video through a message. Okay, so anyways, Ash, removal proceedings. You overstayed 8 years. You're filing I-130. Been married 3 times before. Ooh, 3 times before. Before master hearing. Red flag. Yes, it is. But if you file many, we have many clients that have been married more than one time, so 2 or 3 times, 5 times. But if you filed I-130 for every single one of them, or even if it's one other, we definitely have some explaining to do, which is possible, right? But you just have to be ready for it. Okay, you have to be ready to provide the explanation, especially to the government lawyer, because this is a difficult subject. Okay. Hello, I see your comments on YouTube. Yeah, homeless is definitely a difficult subject. So yeah, I know you're saying that people who are immigrating are holding houses and government jobs, not even born in US. Not the federal level. Federal level, I believe you have to be a U.S. citizen. I believe, pretty sure, unless they're a subcontractor or something like that. But I would think even a subcontractor, you have to be vetted in terms of status. You would think. Yeah, definitely have noticed that about California. So that's a whole other subject. That is interesting. In California, sorry guys, a little aside here. But California, apparently in LA, they pump out a lot of money for homeless. And what is the other phrase? I guess there's a more PC word for homeless. Houseless, I think. I don't know. I'm sorry if I get it wrong. But yeah, it's a tough subject. I just don't understand why it's with all that money in California. I'm not trying to sound like a conservative person, but that's what typically conservative people say, right? Like there's so much money, millions of dollars spent on homeless in California and like New York City, but it doesn't seem to fix the problem. I don't think it's going to fix the problem, but I would think that the problem could be alleviated with all that money. But there's so many politics on a local level, state, federal about this, that just like any cause or concern, that some unfortunate bureaucracy can delay things. Which is why we got to depend on private sector to help for these kind of causes or concerns. All right, Carla. Hello. Is there any hope for young TPS holders from El Salvador? Just depends if maybe, I hate to say this, but maybe you get married, they're U.S. citizen, then it could work and you get advanced parole with entry or reentry. Okay. Otherwise, there is no traction on a reform bill based on people who have DACA and TPS currently. Otherwise, I'll be talking about it. Okay, let's see. I think I answered one more question that I really got to hop off. Sorry, guys. You're welcome, Carla. Can you marry a green card holder? Yes, great question. So for some people, that might seem strange of a question, but basically, will it help you to marry a green card holder? So as of this visa bulletin, I have so many tabs open, but earlier, it showed current for the visa bulletin. So, but even, sorry, F. Jaff. Yes, right. Maria, if you can find his or her question, F. Jaff's question. Oh, there it is. Even if it shows current right now, you get the petition approved, you can't file the 485. No one's going to stop you from filing 485. In fact, USCIS would love the money. They accept the money, but then ultimately they're going to deny it. And the reason why is because if you overstayed your visa, more specifically, if you fail to maintain status, then you're not going to be approved. They might be very nice to you and mail you an RFE, request for evidence, saying, prove to me you've maintained status, and you won't have any proof, right? So that is the problem. So if you're going to file based on a sponsor who's a resident, then you really got to make sure you have maintained your status, or make sure that your spouse is a resident holder, eventually becomes a U.S. citizen. So sooner the better, because when your and you can file right now a petition through your green card holder spouse, but just update USCIS later. Would it be better to do that or just wait? honestly probably just wait so that you can file everything in one swoop together. We call it concurrent filing. That's just my advice to get it done sooner. So tell your spouse to get his act together, become a U.S. citizen, and usually it's what's it called? At least in Dallas and Houston, it's been taking like 2 months after filing for the interview for N400. Okay, FJAF. Sorry, this is gonna be the last question. I gotta run. Work on some case and team meetings. U.S. citizens should sponsor parents and siblings together, or should sponsor parents first? It's not really a together thing. Like, you could mail it off together, but you could file online the I-130, but it's separate applications. Okay, separate applications. Hopefully that helps. So, but if you're sponsoring also separate applications, because if you're a U.S. citizen filing assuming you're over 21, then you file for your parents, that's considered immediate relative. But if you're filing for a sibling, that's called family preference. That is F4 category. And so that depends on the visa bulletin as well. So generally speaking, FJAF, petition for family preference, that's going to take several years generally. And that's okay, because let's say your sibling has children or spouse, they're considered derivatives. So strangely, the longer it takes the petition to process for family preference, the better for your nieces and nephews to prevent age out. Okay, age out meaning if they become over 21. So that's man, y'all getting dropping a lot of knowledge here on immigration. It's like y'all going to law school ish. Actually, most of this I learned after law school. Some of it during, but through clinic. But anyways, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all questions. I'm just tired and I got to get some food in my system again. Today is Wednesday, so I'll see y'all tomorrow. Okay. By the way, again, if you just joined and you don't know this already, we do offer a strategy session at no cost to you, just to point you in the right direction. Okay. There's no obligation to hire, although it'll be our pleasure to assist you to solve your immigration problem, or maybe even prevent it happening in the first place. So especially those folks on TikTok, I have to give you the number verbally. The number is 720-740-4247. You may receive a call from a different number. So probably from a 346 or 832 number. That's a Houston area code. All righty. We wish y'all the best, and you'll have a wonderful day. Take care.